Hey guys, Paul Argueta. Today we are going to talk about selling your home in 2021 during a pandemic. Thank you for visiting my channel. Please make sure that you press on the subscribe button so that way you can have access to all the content that I'm creating and curating for you. Also make sure that you press on the bell icon so that way you can get alerts anytime I upload new content. Now, if you see value in what it is that I'm sharing with you, by all means, please share it with other people. And more importantly, click on the like button as well. So one of the questions that I get asked a lot is what is it like selling a home during the pandemic? So let's talk about what it's like selling your home as a home seller. There's a couple things that you have to consider. Number one, are you still residing in the property or is the property vacant? Now, if the property is vacant, it's going to be a lot easier to show versus if it's a property that you're currently residing in. Irrespective of that, the buyer is going to have to fill out a form called a Pandemic Entry Access Disclosure Form. Now, what this form basically says is that the client understands that they are entering the property during the pandemic and they're not going to hold anyone responsible if they, by chance, contract COVID, okay? It also protects us from looky-loos and people who don't want to fill out that form because they don't want to access the property during the pandemic or just because they thought they would be able to get in. You'd be surprised. I've actually had people that have contacted me, and once I let them know that they need to fill out that form before they could access the property, they decided they no longer wanted to see it. Okay, so it does act as a little bit of a barrier to entry. It does create a little bit of a shield for you, right? Because if someone's not really serious about seeing the property, they're not going to want to fill out that form. They're not going to want to fill out that disclosure. And so keep in mind that the first step is for a buyer to fill out a Pandemic Entry Access Disclosure Form, a PED form. Now, going back to what I said earlier, if the property is vacant, then there is a very good chance that the agent representing the property is going to have a Supra lockbox on there. Now, in our region, we use Supra lockboxes. In other regions, they use different types of lockboxes. So whatever the case may be, there is probably going to be a lockbox. Now, I know that for some homeowners that does concern them, but I can tell you that if they're using the right type of electronic lockbox, you know, it does create a level of security so that not anybody can access the property. Now, if they're using a combo lockbox, well, you know, that's up for debate. But as long as the agent is using a Supra e-key or some type of an e-key, again, the only people that are going to be able to access that are real estate brokers, and then it logs who is entering the property as well. Okay, so if it's vacant, then clearly agents are going to have an easier time showing it. Now, for those of you homeowners who are saying, well, look, I don't want a Supra lockbox there. I want my agent to be there at present for every showing. Now, ideally, that would be the perfect scenario, is for the listing agent to be there for every single showing. Unfortunately, that is probably not going to happen. And if the listing agent does have a strong team around them, then they'll probably have showing agents that are going to assist him or her during the showings. All right. Now, for anyone to assume that the listing agent is going to be there for every single showing may not be an effective use of that agent's time, okay? I'm sure that most agents, including myself, want to be there during the showing so that they could open the property up and they could get feedback. But a lot of times you have to consider the fact that an agent who is bringing their client to the property may not necessarily want to interact with the other agent and may not necessarily want their clients, right, to interact with the other agent as well. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Now, if you are occupying the property, okay, during the pandemic, again, you may or may not want to have a Supra lockbox on there, because then what it does is it creates the opportunity for other agents to go in there and to access the property during the pandemic. Fortunately, there is something called a CBS code, call before showing code, which is an additional level of security. So basically what that means is that the agent can go and open up the Supra lockbox with their phone typically, or whatever. I keep calling it Supra, forgive me. They can open up the lockbox with their phone. But there is a CBS code, which basically means that the agent has to call the listing agent, right? The showing agent has to call the listing agent prior to the lockbox opening up, because they're going to have to punch in what is called a call before showing, CBS code. Without that code, they're not going to be able to open up the Supra, and they're not going to be able to access the property. So again, a good listing agent is going to, if they are going to use the Supra lockbox, they are going to set up a CBS, call before showing code, so that way there's an additional level of security, and not anybody can just get in there at any given moment and show the property without your warrant. right? So number one, the buyer has to fill out a PED form. Number two, they're going to access the property using a super lockbox, or the listing agent is going to be there during the showings, right? Then, once the buyer walks through the property, we have to make sure that all buyers are wearing masks, including the agent. So anybody that walks through the property is going to have to wear masks. Now, some agents will require that you wear gloves as well. And some agents will require, or some sellers will request, that you wear booties as well. Booties is up for debate, right? Because in theory, while they do sound like a good idea, if someone has a slip and fall while wearing those booties, it could open you up to liability. Now, I'm not giving anybody any type of legal advice. I'm not telling you whether you should have booties or not have booties. I'm just saying that those should be investigated and considered very carefully before you start offering booties in the property. And that goes to listing agents and to sellers alike. The masks and the gloves make sense why you would want them there. A good listing agent is going to have wipes, is going to have hand sanitizer, and if you can get your hands on some spray hand sanitizer or even Lysol, that would be phenomenal as well. Okay, so then the showing takes place. A good listing agent is going to get feedback from the selling agent and from the buyer. So listen, this also goes out to all of you selling agents, including myself. As a selling agent, if you've gone out there a selling agent, or a buyer's agent, if you will, is the one showing the property. As you go out there and you show the property, okay, if a listing agent reaches out to you through text, through phone, through email, through whatever, if the listing agent reaches out to you and says, hey, John or Jane, can I get some feedback on the showing? As a professional courtesy to your peer, it is always a good idea for you to go back and provide that feedback to them. That feedback is valuable because they can then take that feedback back to the sellers, and it can help them on their own listing. And there will be a time where you will need feedback from other agents. And if you pay it forward now, karma will come back to you and you'll be able to get that feedback for your clients as well. So please, if you are an agent that is representing a buyer, you're showing the property, please give feedback to those listing agents, because that comes in handy. Okay. Then once the showing takes place, well, then the seller has the opportunity to start to review any offers that come in, okay? A good tip for a listing agent is to set up a deadline to review those offers, okay? So you set up those deadline, it creates that expectation of, hey, I've got until such and such date to do that. Now, it depends on the market too, right? Because if you're in a seller's market, then you can set up that deadline. But if you're in a buyer's market and you're putting up deadlines to submit offers, and you really haven't had any activity, and you really haven't had any showings, then it's going to be very difficult for you to get any offers. So right now, currently, right, as of February 2021, the market is still a seller's market. In fact, unfortunately, we are at a inventory shortage. So we are at probably one of the lowest inventory levels that we've been in a very, very long time. If I'm not mistaken, we are somewhere between a 2.5 to 3 month inventory. A normal inventory for us as real estate practitioners is a 6-month inventory. That means that it would normally take us about 6 months to sell the entire inventory of homes that we have on the market. Right now, we are at 2.5 to 3 months inventory. And that statistic might be a little bit dated too. It might even be a little bit less than that. So don't hold me to it. All right. So that's what it's like as a seller. Now, other things that we can do as listing agents for our sellers to minimize the amount of foot traffic coming through the property. And I say minimize because understand that if it's a hot listing and it's doing really well and you're getting a lot of calls and people are inquiring about the property, the other things that you could do to try to minimize that foot traffic is creating a 3D virtual tour using a camera. Right now, keep in mind that there's a variety of different cameras. I'm a big proponent and a big fan of the Matterport 3D virtual camera, which I like to use for our clients. I purchased one of those cameras just because we liked it so much. And then the other thing you can do is a video, right? Make sure that you have professional photographs. Listen, as real estate agents, you guys, it really breaks my heart when I see a listing and people, and you can tell that the person who took those photographs for that listing are using their camera phones, and it's poorly lit, and you see things in the background. Like, have a little bit of pride in the property that you're representing, okay? Just think about it for a second. This is one of the largest, right, financial investments, financial decisions decisions that someone is making. In California right now, the average price exceeds $550,000. You are literally in control of a $500,000 asset in their for your client. You're in charge of that, and you are representing that. By all means, take professional photographs, and if you're gonna use your camera phone, no problem, but at least make sure that they show well. Try to make them look as professional as possible. Don't leave things in the background. By the way, toilet seats, put them down. You don't need the toilet seats up when you're taking pictures of the property, you guys. Put the toilet seats down, okay? Anyway, so, you take those pictures. So you've got Matterport, you've got professional photos. The other thing that I've been doing is I have been hosting virtual open houses. And virtual open houses are basically where you go online, you take your camera phone. They've got streaming cameras now that work really, really well. And you just take it, you connect it. You can use tools like StreamYard. There's live... which one is the Vimeo one? Vimeo one has a streaming tool as well. You log in through your phone and it streams your virtual open house to all of the different platforms that are out there, including Facebook Live, LinkedIn Live, Twitch, YouTube Live. So these are all the different types of live streaming options that you have available. Now, if you want to do it on TikTok, you can do it as well. If you want to do it on, what's the other one? On Instagram, you're going to need multiple phones to be able to do it because they don't all sync together. I'm not going to do a training on that today, but I'm just sharing with you options. So what you can do is you can go to the property, you can host a virtual open house between an hour to 2 hours, and literally what you turn into is a QVC host and a QVC-ish host representing a property, and it's your job, Mr. or Mrs. Real Estate Practitioner, to sell that property as good as you can. Now, I got to tell you that even I have had to become a little bit better on my game, a little bit better on my video game, to be able to go out there and sell that property. I've been doing this for almost a month now, hosting these virtual open houses. And at first, it was a little rough because I wasn't sure what I was going to say about the property. But that's where you have to get better at selling that property. And you got to sell all the wonderful features of the property, the advantages of the property, why you love the property, and you're walking through the property. And what you're doing is you're panning on yourself, right? Because you really want to connect with the audience, and people connect with people, so they want to see your face. And then after that, what you're going to do is you're going to turn the cameras around and you're going to pan on the property. So virtual open houses are a great tool to be able to get that property sold. Now, again, you're going to need to make sure that you've built the right audience. And if you have a streaming account, what you can do is you go into the MLS and you include the web address for that streaming account. That's the best way to be able to do a live virtual open house with a stream account. Personally, I think the best way to do it is to embed a video or on a specific page, right, within your website. And once you embed that page, you're using the same hyperlink every time, as opposed to having to create a new one for each stream that you do. All right, I'm getting too busy now. I don't want to I'm getting a little too techie on you, so I'm not going to go into that, but just understand that there are tools available for you to be able to offer live virtual open houses where you are literally walking through the house and you are sharing the advantages and you are selling the property. So to Mr. and Mrs. Seller, this is an opportunity for you to use those virtual open houses as well.